how I told you how I made for a game a Golden Age superhero character, and I
Right.
and I paid for some art, and I learned a new trick with the AI bot. I said, "Hey, I made this art. I want you to make a derivative of it." And this is
Okay.
a Golden Age superhero character. The costume that I made was more like a Golden Age superhero who comes back into a more modern setting with a more modern costume. But this is the more Golden Age appropriate costume because fuck Gary Kelly. But more
Mm.
importantly, fuck the Lanterns. Um, James Gunn should be fired from running the DC universe. That was one of the worst things I have ever had to watch for this show. It's not in the level of Starfleet Academy. The Starfleet Academy is like you're approaching an event horizon, and you're spaghettified as you're approaching the terribleness, and it feels like the terribleness goes on forever.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
what's your connection to the Green Lantern as a concept? As a comic
all right.
book property?
All right. So first and foremost, hi everybody. Welcome to the Gospel of Comics. We're a minute in and we're getting right in it. We're going right to it.
Yes.
Gospel of Comics in exile. We pray and hope the guys return. So I have always known Green Lantern exists, and the basic thesis of Green Lantern is basically the perfect superhero. Okay? And I don't mean perfect in the sense of power. I don't mean perfect in the sense of content. I mean, when we're talking about what makes a superhero, how can you describe a superhero with the least number of words to anyone without an extensive lore dump, right? Intergalactic space cop with a ring that uses willpower to do anything. Done.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Done. Right? Everybody knows what a cop is. Everyone understands intergalactic. Everyone understands power ring.
Yeah.
From there, you can spiral out to get into all the particulars, but like people's imaginations are already so he chases aliens, right? Which he does. It's like, oh, he like fights like crime on Earth sometimes, which he does. You get the notion, right? And then, even though I was familiar with Hal Jordan conceptually, I was never really sold on Green Lantern. In fact, unsurprisingly, though I do read both, I was more of a Marvel guy in my youth. There was a period of time where I was like, I could do DC because DC was putting out good content. That was a very short window. Okay. Because I hate to tell people, and there are people that will stab me for this, but get fucked. DC has always been worse than Marvel.
For the bulk of their history, yes.
It's not even that Marvel is just splashier because they have better art, which is often true. It's that the Stan Lee writing concept of the hero with problems is head and shoulders superior in structure for relatability and for investment than the postmodern super god notion.
But I mean, DC only recently adopted super gods and then abandoned that idea for whatever the hell absolute DC Comics is.
Right, but they keep trying to push it. Whether it's Trinity, whether it's we're the Golden Age guys, or whatever. It's basically their superheroes are icons. They are symbols, right? The Marvel superheroes are people for all the good and ill that intends.
Yeah.
Right. But I was okay with Green Lantern. When I truly got to know Green Lantern, and this is actually very important to the subject of lanterns, was John Stewart.
Yes.
Right? I was not bothered by the idea that there was another Green Lantern that was John Stewart. I didn't know about Guy Gardner. That took me some time, which is funny. Right? I actually knew about Kyle Rayner before I knew about Guy Gardner.
Right.
Right? But basically, it's like, okay, it's another Green Lantern. Oh, he's in the Justice League cartoon. Okay, I'll get to know him. I'll get to see what's about. And I watched the Justice League cartoon, and it was halfway decent.
And that version of John Stewart is nothing to do with the original comic book version.
I mean, there are some send ups, but yeah, it's a very different guy.
I mean, I literally knew when he was alive, Dwayne McDuffie, the comic book guy, he was writing for the show, and he just didn't involve any of the stuff from the comic books when he was actively writing the character.
Well, yeah, but what I'm referring to as a for instance, because this is again comes up in Lanterns apparently. There is an episode where Jon Stewart is up on charges for a crime.
Well, there's only one episode so far, and Jon Stewart is not in that one episode up for charges for a crime.
I know, but bear with me here for a minute. I'm talking about Justice League.
That one, yeah.
And in that episode, he's accused of destroying a planet, and there's a intergalactic peacekeeping force that has been on the back burner since the Green Lanterns took over, called the Manhunters, which are these very Jack Kirby robots. Which is the thing. This is a redux of a Kirby era DC storyline, a Silver Age, right?
Kinda.
And
we'll get to that.
It's not perfect, but it's nice. It's a good one, right? And then we get back to this show. We get to Lanterns, and yeah, they're going to take all these pieces, and they're going to squiggle them, and they're going to do it wrong because somebody, as you're about to explain to us, decided to reinvent the wheel.
There are so many wrong decisions in this show. I don't know where to begin.
I know. No, I know exactly where to begin. Can we begin with the 5-minute opener?
I was about to joke about that. I was saying they decided to begin with child abuse.
No, not just child abuse. A wild misunderstanding of how people respond to child abuse.
Well, let's go one step further. Spoiler for anybody watching our show who hasn't watched a successful DC comic show, because it's going to be successful enough today. Whether it's successful for a week, that's a whole other story. His dad was abusing him as a child to make him into being the perfect candidate for being a Green Lantern. And the more the show went on, the more this made me angry as a concept. And there's also an implication that Hal told a fib about his story about how he became a Green Lantern.
But why, though?
And they also made the story less interesting. That he was just in his house, and then the Ring took his house and transported it to where Abin Sur was.
But why, though?
I don't know why they made this decision. It's pretty fucking stupid. So somehow Jon Stewart interviewed with Guardians, which is something, if I continue to watch this terrible show, I might find out the answer to.
Yeah.
And this is, well, there's only one Green Lantern on Earth. Well, hold the fucking phone. Guy Gardner's on this planet. So there's two. So that rule doesn't work. Mr. James Gunn, who's supposed to be the grand architect of this whole cinematic fucking vision.
Well, because it's never been one Green Lantern for Earth. It's always been one Green Lantern for this quadrant, meaning that the Green Lanterns spread thin cover a lot of space, right? So even if you have two Green Lanterns from Earth who spend time on Earth, they're like, okay, we got to divvy up this massive region of space between the several of us.
That would be an intelligent storyline, but then that would defeat the central tension of the show.
Right.
So when they say it's like True Detective, it's not like the good parts of True Detective. You know how they did lots of driving in True Detective? There's a lot of driving in this show. There's lots of conversations while you're taking drives in the car.
I still want to talk about my problem with the preview, because I only watched the preview. I couldn't find a source for the episode.
Oh no. I need to unpack all of this.
Right. But I want to comment on something pertinent right now.
Okay.
This should not have been inspired by True Detective, and the one who said it's like True Detective but should have been immediately fired.
Well, that was one of the executive producers of the show, and who's also one of the
Fire him. I
co-writers
don't
of the
give a
show.
shit. Okay?
Well, Warner Brothers
Because-
really likes him.
Well, because here's the thing. Your basic thesis is essentially that Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan are two very different people who are going to work together because Hal Jordan is teaching Jon Stewart how to be a Lantern.
No,
Okay?
that's not the thesis of the show.
No, that's what they told us before they released it. Okay,
No.
that's what.
No. It got leaked out, and they had to acknowledge that the leak was correct, that Hal Jordan got killed in the first episode.
Which is dumb. But here's the thing. What this should have been, what would have been better, okay, better than True Detective comparisons, say it's training day.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
Joe, that would have been good if it was Hal Stewart training with Sinestro.
I mean, yes, but you could also have done it with Hal Jordan being a good example, training with Jon Stewart, and then if you're still going to kill him in the first episode, which is fucking dumb, right? You have him use his first episode to give all the good advice, and then you give Jon Stewart all the difficult choices with a very limited window of experience to work with.
Oh, no.
You're
imagining a show that's better than what we are getting.
Sadly.
So, it's training. They're driving around, and it's 2016. The show goes from 1996 to 2016.
Yeah.
It just does. And first day of flight training, Hal Jordan decides to bail out of the car that they have, drive it off a cliff with Stewart in it, and having the ring there for him to just figure it the fuck out. That's the thing that happens. Now, Jon Stewart, in addition to being a Marine sniper, which is a choice, he's also a gifted and talented artist. So there's a whole subbeat. He says, okay, so what did you do to save yourself? Because John hasn't figured out how to fly yet with the ring. Bubble wrap. And Hal Jordan goes, man, you're so smart. And again, Jon Stewart in the comics, lesser in the Tim Justice League Unlimited canon,
Mm-hmm.
it's like an engineer and an architect. So he's not necessarily as powerful from a raw power standpoint, but from his ability to envision, imagine, and create, he's more powerful than just about anybody.
Well, that's one of the things.
Build complex machines.
That's one of the things right there that needs to be mentioned. So Hal Jordan was a fighter pilot.
Yes.
In the comics, who got the ring out of essentially necessity, because his predecessor didn't have the time to send it to someone else. There was an emergency going on.
Well, he was dying.
Right.
That's the emergency.
Right. But Hal Jordan had a lot of will and was a fundamentally good person.
Yes.
Right? When you look at the other people, although, again, Guy Gardner's kind of an outlier because he has a lot of will, but he's kind of a ditz, and we love him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Rayner, Jon Stewart, several of the various Lanterns are artists and dreamers and creators. These are people who envision shit, because it's not enough to have will. If you're using the ring as a ray gun, you're doing it wrong.
Oh no, Ruin. We wish we had a show where in the first episode they used the ring as a ray gun.
I'm just saying, like, that has been criticized in the comic and in other Green Lantern media, that a lot of Lanterns get lazy and they're just like pew pew, and it's like, no, the ring can do anything if you can envision it correctly.
So here are some of the things that Hal Jordan uses the ring for, and Jon Stewart.
Okay.
Hal Jordan uses the ring to counterfeit money.
Why?
Well, one, he wants to get drunk, and two, he wants to annoy rednecks at a bar so they get into a fight with him, so he gets taken to jail.
But why, though?
Because a suspect is in the jail that he believes is an alien.
You don't need the ring to do that.
Well, no,
you just pick a fight with some rednecks. They'll fight with you for money. They'll fight for you for free. They'll fight with you because you looked at them funny. What the fuck?
well, no. They all know he's Green Lantern,
right?
So he had to really annoy them. So he used the counterfeit money to get change after he bought his booze, and put like the most annoying song on the jukebox on loop for like 20 cycles.
But why though?
To annoy the rednecks.
Right, but here's the thing. I made a post today on the Twitter space. A guy was being an idiot, and I decided to put on the jackass suit. But I said something that apparently struck a nerve with my various friends who thought it was fucking hilarious. Did you happen to see the comment?
I did. We're gonna get to that
right.
in a minute, but
right. But I just want to be clear. You walk up to the rednecks. You look at them all. They look at you. They know you're Green Lantern. You pick out the one that looks dumbest, right? And you just ask him, so I got to know, how is it being so inbred that your family tree is a circle? And instant fight. You didn't need to fuck around with making fake money.
But there's a more important reason this is stupid.
Okay.
He doesn't actually get put into the jail cell with the suspect.
Of course not.
So he gets put on trial for being a jackass in a bar. And he hires a lawyer, a random lawyer who shows up. And the random lawyer who shows up is working for a quote-unquote nefarious figure in the town.
So, Boss Hog.
Kind of, sort of. We'll get to him in a minute. And because his lawyer mentions that he's a flight risk because, quote, he could just go into space, the judge sets his bail at $200,000.
Which means nothing because he's got a Green Lantern ring and he could just leave. It's like when the government, quote, arrests Superman and you know, he just breaks the handcuffs. It's like, look, I'm being polite. I could leave at any time.
Yeah. And he doesn't get to see the guy then, but that's okay because the whole I'm going to get into a fight with some rednecks is the thing about Boss Hog. But before we get to that, John Stewart.
I have to ask a question just because I'm curious because we're putting this together. Why could Jon Stewart not walk in his Green Lantern suit and say, "Hi, I'm Green Lantern. I'd like to talk to your prisoner because I think he's an alien"?
Oh, the sheriff says, "Well, you don't know he's an alien."
And Jon Stewart says, "There's one way to find out, and I'm being polite. So why don't we work together?"
No. You see, the show, they say that there are at least 14 species of aliens that can hide any method of detection on Earth. But we'll get to that.
But he's a Green Lantern. He's clearly the X Factor because he can just say, "You're an alien."
Well, I mean, that's not what the rings can do here. And the reason he's not in his suit is because the production didn't want to use the suits until they got flack from the internet.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. This is like the one bit of slack I'll cut them. I understand why they didn't want to use the suits because the last time they did the suit, it was CGI. It looked like ass, and Ryan Reynolds was still feeling butthurt about it.
And also, this suit's CGI and looks like ass.
So they, in fact, did not learn their lesson.
Well, they put it in to make the internet happy. And it's clearly a poorly rendered CGI image.
That they did very quickly to appease the internet.
Yes.
So they didn't learn their lesson.
But before we get into that, Jon Stewart got to use the ring a second time in the show to light a woman's cigarette so he could have sex with her.
I mean, that I'm almost okay with. That just doesn't seem like Hal's character, though. But I like the idea of being
No. This is
John.
John.
A smoothie.
This is John who did this. John used the ring to hook up with a woman.
I'm still almost okay with it if they were going for a film noir vibe, but I don't suspect they were going for a film noir vibe.
You're actually wrong, surprisingly, because the woman he hooked up with is Boss Hogg's wife.
All right, now I gotta ask a stupid question. Boss Hog white?
Absolutely, he's white. It's Nebraska.
White wife?
Absolutely, it's Nebraska.
Oh, so we're making a racial commentary about men and women like fucking thugs. This is great.
Yeah. But I mean, Jon Stewart. She also made a gay joke about Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan because Hal Jordan gave him the Green Lantern ring before he got in the bar fight.
Excuse me, this is a Green Lantern show, not a Batman show. Gay jokes are not welcome.
Hal, when they went to Boss Hogs, made a bottle cap opener with the ring so that people could drink beer.
Again, that's actually not so bad. I'm okay with the idea of the ring being used for sort of very, very small, mundane things.
Mhm.
Like,
Now there is,
like you use the ring to pick a lock. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that's legit.
and there is an appropriate use of the ring at the very end of the show, which we'll get to. So Boss Hog has a militia guarding his wealthy man mansion.
Yeah.
And Hal's lawyer is the sheriff's husband, and who's Boss Hog's son.
Yeah.
And Boss Hog arranged all of this so that he could have a reasonable conversation with Hal Jordan.
By the way, for any viewers who happen to be watching later, currently, or whatever, and you're like, who the fuck is Boss Hog? I don't remember a Boss Hog on the show. This is a reference to the Dukes of Hazzard, which famously had sort of the quintessential trope codifying corrupt southern sheriff named Boss Hog. We're saying the character is stock, and that makes it lame.
Yes, 100%. And he says, listen, this land was colonized land, and I'm just doing what I need to do for my people to protect us from being colonized by people from outer space. And Hal's like, well, actually, outer space is kind of peaceful. And I'm like, hey, did anybody who wrote this read DC Comics? I know Tom King was involved in writing it, and he certainly hasn't read DC Comics. We can tell that by the comics he has written.
Tom King hasn't ever read a comic. Let's be correct.
Yeah. And he's like, well, listen, I know that guy in the jail cell's the alien. And Hal Jordan goes, you can't tell me because of your NDA from your bosses. But he arranges for Hal Jordan to go in and interrogate the guy who is presenting himself as a truck driver.
Right.
And he knows the stuff you'd think a truck driver would know from Nebraska. Knows all about Nebraska football. He was just there because he was going to follow his hometown team. It was a 2 hours out rival, blah, blah, blah. And then Hal asks him who Harry Potter is.
And this was your gotcha?
Wait. And then he asks him about some other things, including Barack Obama. And the alien knows who Barack Obama is. He's the president. He's like, really? A white truck driver from Nebraska? That is the depth and breadth of your opinion on Barack Obama? And the alien was like,
all right. So let's walk through this real quick. So first and foremost, everybody knows Harry Potter, and not knowing Harry Potter means you're an alien.
Well, no.
Because
this thing is that there are certain things that happen in the common pop culture that if you're an alien, you don't know anything about them for some reason.
Right. Which is actually fine.
Yes.
But the next part is like, okay, if you're pretending to be a Midwestern truck driver, maybe you've never read a Harry Potter and you don't really know anything about the movies, that could happen. Right?
It'd be improbable, but it could happen.
Right. The next thing is who's the president?
Well, no, there's a couple of things, then there's Barack Obama.
No, bear with me. It's like, who's the president? Barack Obama. It's just a straight answer to a straight question. It's like, and then literally what you're implying is that he's saying because the truck driver didn't drop an N-word, there's a problem?
Yes.
Because that's kind of the implication, that everybody from the Midwest is racist and hates black people, which I think is fucked up.
Yes. And after that, the alien's like going, well, look, if I was an alien and I had a sophisticated 5-year-long cover identity and I've been hiding here in Nebraska, it's probably for something really important. And I probably had something to evade intergalactic peacekeepers like you. And he had a neutron bomb built into his skeleton. that he could activate with a thought. And he blows up. Hal Jordan more or less stops the explosion with his Green Lantern ring. And then we fast forward to 2026, where Hal Jordan's a Hal Jordan sickle in the football stadium. That's the show.
That's fucking lame.
Also, Hal Jordan implies that he was never supposed to get the ring, that the Guardians didn't want anybody from Earth to get the ring. And since we know the Manhunters were involved, Earth was kept black by the Guardians because of something involving the Manhunters. It's going to be a colonialism allegory told through the lens of a police officer who's black, who was raised by the military, who is a colonializing force. That's our Green Lantern show, everybody.
So I wanted to talk about something with reactions to child abuse, but I'm gonna expand it out. I'm gonna go deep for a minute, because what you have just described suggests that Marvel has already won the TV war with DC. And
DC hasn't won.
No.
DC got to the starting line that it fell on their face.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They got to the starting line 50 years too late. So I'm going to start with this question. Do you remember a certain little excellent show, little bit of cheese that was on repeat on the Sci-Fi Channel for a while? The Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno?
Damn right I remember that show. That was an amazing show.
That was an amazing show. I actually own every season but the last two and the movies, because I found it in a bargain bin. I just could not find the bottom. Otherwise, I would have got it. But there is an episode. Okay? Now, it's a very dated episode. I want to be clear. This is a dated depiction, and it's still winning. Okay? Banner is in hiding, avoiding the reporters and the police, trying to figure out his condition, and he's acting as a gardener at a school because they'll hire a dude without asking too hard, as long as you stay away from the kids and work at the plants. Right?
As long as nothing goes missing.
It was the 70s. What do you want?
Yeah.
Well, he's, of course, good to the kids because, in fact, Bruce Banner is a halfway decent fella.
Yeah.
Right? One of the kids is kind of aloof and quiet and is having a rough day, and Banner touches him on the shoulder to go, "Hey, kid, what's wrong?" And the kid kind of shies away, like, uncomfortably. As
yes,
Banner
we're talking
realizes,
about a very special episode that was actually special.
Yes, and he discovers the kid has a bruise, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And he tries to tell the teachers, like, "I think this kid's being beaten," and the teachers fucking know, but they're like, "We can't do anything," right? And so he's trying to find somebody because he's trying to tell the cops, but he can't tell the cops who he is because he's on the run, right? Because you can't just drop an anonymous tip and go, "I think a kid's being beaten at this address by his old man," right? And so he tries to confront the dad, and the dad looks at him and is like, "Get the fuck off my property, asshole," and closes the door and, heads in the house. And
Hulk happens.
Well, no. Here's the thing. Before the Hulk happens, okay, Banner is basically running up and down the street, house to house, knocking on people's doors, begging them to open the fucking door and listen to him because a child is being beaten, because the neighborhood knows. They hear this shit every fucking day, and nobody wants to get involved. But Banner, a hero, is the one man in the place to maybe do something about it. And yeah, Hulk happens. It's an Incredible Hulk show. Okay? So now we go back to the very beginning of Lanterns, the opening set of minutes. Because I didn't finish them, but I did watch it. Why didn't I finish them? Because we're going to talk about what I couldn't stand. Right? So the kids are up late.
The William Tell overture, if you will.
Oh yeah. So the kids are up late when they know they're not supposed to be, and little John Stewart's brother is like telling him, "Hey man, we should go to bed. We've pushed it as far as we can. We should go to bed." He's like, "No, I want to see this report because they're talking to Hal Jordan on the TV, right?" and they push it to the limit, and they get caught. TV's off, but Dad's smart enough to see what's going on. And he stands there, and for a minute, you think he's going to be bro, because he understands his kids are excited about the new superhero revealing himself to the world, right? And you think, oh, this is going to be heartwarming, right? And he orders his kid into the backyard. Okay.
Puts an apple on his head.
Puts an apple on his head, and then points a gun at his own child, fires, and all of this to make sure that his kid is tough, so that his kid doesn't have fear. Right?
Well, it's even worse, because it's all to make sure that his kid can become Green Lantern,
which is something he doesn't even know can happen.
Oh no! Apparently, his dad does.
Well, isn't that funny? But here's the problem with that.
Other than it's being incredibly stupid.
Right. In addition to the literal danger of you fired a weapon at your child's head, and you are a trained military man who knows not to fucking do that. You do not put people downrange and point your weapon at them unless you intend to kill them. It's part of the training. Right?
It is.
He has fucking neighbors. He's not in some remote homestead in the middle of nowhere where somebody fires off a 22 every couple of nights for fun. Right? He's in the middle of a town, of a city, in a neighborhood. Everybody fucking heard that. And you want to go, well, yeah, but everybody knows he's a soldier man. Bullshit.
You can't just fire a gun in a suburban neighborhood.
Right.
Even if you're a soldier, that's not how any of that fucking works.
So first and foremost, a dozen people just called the cops.
Yep.
Right? If they didn't call the cops, somebody went, oh, God, the soldier guy is shooting his gun off in the neighborhood. And somebody is going to grab a baseball bat, stupid as it is, and is going to put on his robe and his shoes, and is going to scuffle over to go, Mr. Man, you can't do that. And when they become aware, then it's like, wait a minute, you point your gun at your fucking children?
What is wrong with you?
They're out of that house. That dude's in jail.
Absolutely.
And he's going to get court-martialed and thrown out disgracefully, because even if you're not on base, if you are still a practicing soldiery, your conduct is under observation. If you said to any of the soldier mans that your dad knows, talks to, commanding officers, outreach, anyone, my daddy points his gun at me sometimes to make me not be scared, they will be like, oh, thank you. Could you please send in your father? We'd like to have a conversation with him. Someone please send in the M-fucking-Ps.
Yeah.
There is no way that happens.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying there aren't damaged soldiers. I'm not saying there aren't psychologically unbalanced soldiers. I'm not saying that a man who's in the military couldn't beat his kid with a belt or the back of his hand. That shit happens. I'm saying the specifics of a black man with a gun, pointing a gun at his child and firing it in a suburban environment, and nobody fucking talks or asks questions, does not happen. And just so we're clear, I mentioned race for a specific reason. We're also reinforcing really terrible racial stereotypes.
Yeah.
We already believe in media that men don't stay with their children in black families. Now we're saying, and if the black men did stay, they would be dangerous and violent.
Also, there wasn't a mother
you
in
people.
The house. There also wasn't a mother in the house either.
Yeah, fuck you people.
So yeah, this show is awful. It's really bad, and James Gunn deserves to be fired for this show. Basically, with the exception of the first Superman movie, nothing that has been produced by DC under the James Gunn banner has been worth a damn. Well, let's talk about a show that's better, that has a similar protagonist by the name of Alan Ritchson, a.k.a. Jack Reacher. Because Jack Reacher, like the Green Lantern, he does go on ambling travel, but they actually make it interesting by having him go from place to place and do interesting things and have interesting conversations in places with people. And the reason True Detective worked as a story in a TV show was Matthew McConaughey and fucking Woody Harrelson. Their personality conflicts. That's the reason that show worked, with the car trips and the debating philosophy while they were driving between crime scenes and cutting money by filming big stretches of Texas. But
Yeah.
Jack Reacher, minding his own business, as Jack Reacher do. He likes music. He likes food. He's in Philadelphia. He gets on a train because it's late, and Jack doesn't own a car because owning a car would be owning a thing that's against his lifestyle. And he sees a woman on a train. Woman on the train's having a problem, and Jack Reacher thinks this problem is not just his problem, but the problem of everybody else on the train. And he tries to help her, and she kills herself, which was, even though I knew that was coming, that was a lot harder of a hit in that first episode than I was expecting.
Well, here's the thing about it, because I don't want this to get shuffled under the rug, as we may be apt to do, as we're just broadly discussing a plot. Season 1. Jack Reacher walks into town minding his own business, and the cops pick him up for a crime he didn't commit. He's immediately invested in, I gotta clear my name and find out who's trying to fuck with me. Right? Season 2, he's walking around minding his own business, and government stooges are interested in what he's up to for reasons, because a crime is being done, and he gets roped into a thing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Season 3, I don't remember the specifics, but basically he gets roped in again. It's a lot of Reacher gets roped. Right?
In season 2 and season 3. And I actually like season 3 better than 2, because at least he was roped into something that seemed like it was more his idea. Versus someone of my friends has been killed and I have to find out how and why.
Right. So season 4, and really this is me glazing Alan Richardson as an actor, because it's really easy to look at him and think, big brute, big guy, that's it, and just walk away. It's like, no, he's got actual acting chops and range.
Yes.
Okay. So he goes and talks to the woman. He's trying to verify she doesn't have a bomb.
Well, I was saving the bomb part for later.
I'm sorry, I was ruining it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, I was saving it for later because the interrogation scene with Snap, Crackle, and Pop.
Yeah, which we'll get to. But he thinks he thinks, okay, she doesn't have a gun, but she's deeply disturbed. I can still help her. Or he doesn't have a bomb, but she's deeply disturbed. I can help her. And then she pulls out the gun, and he's like, "Oh no, this is an escalation." It's like, well, look, please, let me help you. Let me do you a solid, okay?
I'm a cop.
When she shoots herself in the head, it hard cuts to Alan Richardson, whose face has been splattered with fucking brains.
Yeah.
Right? And his expression as Reacher is the perfect combination of emotional control, because that's the training, right? None of this is going to reach his face, right?
Well, it reaches his eyes.
But that's the thing. His eyes are, you read them, and it's like he is in shock. He is horrified that this happened in front of him. It's affected him, right?
Yeah.
And in the subsequent episode, calling back to Incredible Hulk of all things, that's the thing. You have a person who sees a problem and has to see that problem resolved. He could walk away at any time. It's done. He couldn't do anything to stop the suicide. But he feels a baseline, fundamental level of personal culpability, because I was there, present. I saw it. I looked into her eyes, recognized the moment she was going to die, and let it happen.
But unlike Lanterns, and the reason I wanted to segue directly into this from Lanterns is the police hold up Jack Reacher on some bullshit. And Jack has no patience for the bullshit. And then he says, yeah, she's like a suicide bomber. And the Philly cops are like saying, what, we've all been trained on that bullshit since 9/11? Or are you acting like I'm stupid? Well, I mean, because you are stupid. And they admit, yes, we're holding you for the feds. And Jack Reacher demands his penance for his time, an additional cheesesteak sandwich.
Right.
Which I liked. I liked that.
Like, look, he can't. He needs to eat, and he's not going to turn down an opportunity for food. If it's on the company dollar, they can pay for it.
Yeah. And then generic people from OGA show up, and they start hassling him. But this is one of my problems with this episode. These are guys from OGA who not only have Jack Reacher's jacket, they have his psychic profile. They should have known that was not going to fucking work.
So I think we have a confluence of two things, because it didn't bother me, right?
Well, no, it's not something that bothers me that ruins the whole episode.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit of the characters were dumb because the plot had to happen.
Right, but the thing is, I want to be very clear. I think even though these are based on books, I think that's a TV thing. I think in book the characters were probably a lot more like we're the CIA playing hardball.
Well, no, these guys were the CIA.
Well, they were
the Cincinnati Reds were the CIA.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. They were playing hardball with him because they thought they had to establish control very quickly, right? And you can imagine that there was a logic in the fiction that's not in the film. In the TV show, yeah, they got to be dumb for a show to happen. But again, Alan Richardson's response is on point.
Yeah,
because he basically looks at them and says, "You're dumb. You know it. I know it. And because I know you know it, I'm not going to fuck around with this."
And I like also the fact that there's also that problem with the CIA, because again, when the CIA kidnaps him later in the show, they should also have his psyche eval. They should realize that everything they have done is a mistake.
Oh, well, again, because here's the thing. When the CIA grab him and what the CIA proceeds to do, they're operating by a playbook, right? And weird side question, but it's pertinent. Have you ever read the novelization of Predator 2?
I have not.
They
talk about Gary Busey?
They do.
He's so fucking crazy?
Well, no, they don't talk about how he's crazy, but they talk about the idea of how Peter Keyes is the kind of guy who is so used to winning that he has forgotten that the potential for failure exists. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, is I can imagine the CIA being like, we do this all the time. We know how to take enemy combatants. We know how to hold people in cages. We know how to drug people. We know how to apply pressure. We can handle a Jack Reacher. I mean, sure, he's a 7-foot-tall Adonis who breaks people with his bare hands, and he's been a trained interrogator and investigator. He knows our tools as well, but we're going to be the ones in control this time. I can see them making that assumption and being very, very wrong.
Yes, that was less egregious, but again, they were dumb because the plot had to happen. And the second suicide of the show, it didn't hit me as hard, but I'm like, oh, you're doing your little teaser 3-episode arc there. That was pretty impressive as a choice, artistically. It does a really good job making me feel things, because at least at this point in the show, the congressman, I believe he doesn't know what any of this shit is actually all about. But I believe he's in a situation where no one will fucking believe he doesn't know what's going on. And I also believe the way the show is set up, his wife knows what's going
on. I'm gonna present a dissenting opinion, but it aligns at the same time. I think they're pulling a bit of a fast one, but they're pulling a good fast one, because we've had seasons of antagonistic men. We go in expecting it's like, oh, it's gonna be a dirty senator, it's gonna be a scumbag with secrets. Oh man. And it's like, oh wait, is he clean? Is there actually a good guy trying to get in Congress? What the fuck? And then as the more she talks, you start to put ears like, oh, it's Hillary.
That was what I was feeling
It's
too.
it's an evil woman behind a good man who doesn't know how dark her fucking rule book goes, which, quite frankly, is a loving send back to the first season of 24.
Yes. So I like that aspect of it. I also like the Philadelphia cop lady. She felt like a believable character from Philadelphia for me.
Yeah.
I also liked how he picked up the cat. I personally think the cat should have stayed with the crazy reporter guy. But that's just me. The other thing was, I love the part with the OnlyFans model. All of that.
Well, okay, so since we're talking about this, and it's not just the OnlyFans joke, it's
Oh
the
no!
entire
Oh no!
investigation. I wanna mention something, because this is the thing. We always talk about Alan Richardson, and it's very easy to, again, because he's the main character, the front and row actor, to talk about him being just all the excellent. The cop lady is okay, as you say. Radical, weird, newsy is interchangeable. We always need a tech guy, meh, right? Jersey Cop,
I like
Barney
Jersey
Fife.
Cop. Yeah,
Barney Fife is a surprisingly deep character, because he starts really broken up, and then you see him get really mad, and he is slowly but surely getting not jaded, but real hardcore. And the
yeah,
thing is he's what, like half Reacher's size. He
if
looks like a
that.
98-pound weakling. He does not look tough at all, right? But you are watching a good man grow into a roaring rampage of revenge, right? And it gives a nice contrast, a nice human contrast, to jaded cop and Jack Reacher, who has had multiple horrific experiences. So when they find the OnlyFans girl, right?
That
The,
was fucked up.
right. The cop is horrified, but the cop knows how to remain clear. The Jack Reacher has seen way worse things, quite frankly, right? And then
Yeah,
it's like, and what about Mayberry? Oh, Mayberry's got to go run outside and throw up.
yeah, yeah. That this was a great season. I actually liked the previous season too. I know a lot of people didn't. I thought the whole thing with the villain and the son and Jack Reacher becoming a surrogate father / mentor figure for the son. I liked that last season.
Here's the thing. Often the parts that Richardson interacts with, I don't have a problem with. My issues with various seasons of Reacher are the secondary story and the secondary plot threads with secondary characters
Yeah,
trying to
it's too
weave
cluttered.
through more. It's cluttered, and quite frankly, it's not that the characters aren't necessarily deep. Like, they might be really interesting in book, right? But they aren't fully realized in show. And that's
And there's
what
not
I'm
enough space in the show for them to be realized.
and that's what I'm getting at here in this particular show. Like, okay, I'm gonna walk through our characters real quick that aren't including the villains. We're talking just about main characters, right? You got Alan Richardson, you got Detective Woman, right? You got Mayberry PD, right? That's our dynamic trio. They become a quattro when they pick up Tech Guy, right? Who I only find him frustrating because he is very much a stock Hollywood character. I don't have a problem with the idea that he's a former whistleblower that got wrecked,
Yeah,
right? Like, the structure of the character is fine.
and that kind of supports the themes of what the central mystery
Right.
is.
But then there's another character who's technically a good guy that is interesting and gets enough time to actually have a shape and a character and have meaning. And that's Cop Lady's partner.
Who's kind of a Harvey Bullock.
Right.
First, the good Harvey Bullock, not the one we're going to be talking about later.
Right. Well, because first he tries to hardball Reacher, and Reacher's not having it. It's like, dude, you're a Boston cop. You can't do shit to me. Right. And to be clear, because this is actually a really important, really interesting plot point, and I think will come up later in series. The day he meets Reacher, he has a giant fuck all bruise on his face.
Yes.
Right? This tells you a lot about the character visually without ever telling you a lot about the character directly.
Yeah.
Because you don't get punched in the face either unless you're a person who regularly gets in it to win it.
Mm.
Right? Or you are a guy that is perpetually down on your fucking luck.
Well, I mean, he's a graveyard shift cop.
Right.
So he gets all sorts of special people.
But then he's talking to Lady Cop and he's like, look, just let it go. It's none of our business. And she doesn't let it go. And he plays it fine for a while. And then later, when she's doing something objectively illegal, he's like, look, I have told you, I've advised you to let this go. You didn't. I ain't going to stop you.
I ain't going to snitch.
But if anybody asks me directly, I ain't going to lie for you either. And you know what? I respect that. I respect that he's not a snitch, but he is not a fucking doormat either.
Yeah.
He's not skilled. He's not like a great super cop or anything. But he establishes a baseline of capability and respectability.
Yeah.
For the cops who frankly could have been treated like the Keystone cops in this show and weren't. And that's good.
Did we actually talk about the Grey Ghost episode last week?
We have talked about the Grey Ghost episode 3 times this month, but I think we're going to do it again because of just how deep the well of shit that is Caped Crusader Goes is.
Yeah, because I finally finished that, and the more I think about the Carrie Kelly thing, the more I hate it. And then we get to the final episode with the Joker. And I'm like going, you had something there, but there wasn't any connective tissue to this whole season to get you there. Now, the whole thing with the female penguin, or as I like to call it, John Sterling, which is a joke about John Sterling as a transsexual.
Right.
That at least, the plot lines are all going somewhere. The Joker as a figure of menace who just shows up at the end saying, okay, everybody, it's time for my master plan, which is to just fucking kill everybody. And I know that they're doing this show because they have contractual obligations with J.J. Abrams they need to burn off. And losing money in this show is cheaper for them than doing that. But, God, it's just so directionless and pointless.
So,
Here,
go ahead.
The stunt casting.
Yeah.
You make Barbara Gordon the public defender.
Right.
Make Barbara Gordon the public defender. You close out the door on her being Batwoman. Or Batgirl. Or Batwoman. You close that whole door.
Right.
What do you gain from that? Absolutely nothing. You gain absolutely nothing from it. You would gain more if you had Barbara Gordon as a beat cop trying to prove herself in the sexist police department of Gotham City, which it's mostly sexist.
Over Gordon's admonishments.
Yeah.
And gives you an opportunity because Gordon can say, well, I'm not going to cut you any slack. I'm going to be harder on you because I expect more of you. Right?
Yeah.
But then all of her co-workers think she's got an easy ride because she's the commissioner's niece.
Yeah. Well, the commissioner's daughter. But yeah, you get
right.
this. You get just. And then you could segue her in as Batgirl in an easier way that way. And you could make Barbara Gordon's character useful in the show. Making Montoya a chubby lesbian doesn't really do anything. She's just lady cop who does things because Jim Gordon can't do everything in the show. None of these choices that are made for aesthetics or design or character selection are for any purpose.
Well, what's worse is that there are decisions that were clearly done for period, right? That are also shout outs. And this is a problem I've mentioned in other media, and it's why things like the New 52 didn't work, right? And that is the compulsive need for lore nods. Okay?
Mhm.
The character of Detective Flass was invented in Batman Year One, as far as I can tell.
Mhm.
Right? And it was a 6 foot tall blonde haired dude and a douche, and was Gordon's partner. Because Frank Miller remembers that Jim Gordon used to be his own comic book run. He was brought in to save Batman,
Mhm.
right? Then Flash appeared in Batman Begins as a fat white guy, which is fine. I don't care. Yes, Batman '89 had a stand-in that was basically the same character in Eckhart, but it wasn't Flash. It was a new character, whatever. Right? Might as well have been Harvey Bullock for all it mattered. It was just a dude. This Flash is a thin, tall, black guy. Okay, fine. He's a corrupt cop. It's still the same character. Fine. But what is he there for? He's there to establish set dressing. And I don't mean set dressing in the sense of he's a cop and present. I mean set dressing in the fact of he is one of the characters that looks the most like he stepped out of a 1950s serial.
Mhm. Except
Right?
1950 serial wouldn't have had a black cop. And
Right.
certainly wouldn't have had a black cop be that corrupt, because that would be,
Right.
even by 50 standards, hyper racist.
But here's the thing. You could take that character, scratch the name Flash off, and make him anyone else for his actual contribution to the story's plot or importance of the events. He's only Flash because that's the name we know, and everyone will basically do that snap and point at the screen thing. I know that dude. That's bad writing. It is bad writing to base your structure around the reference.
Well, do you remember the South Park episode? Because I remember.
I do not.
Well, there was the member berries. They were talking about Star Wars. And you know
yes.
who was making the Star Wars that they were making the member berry jokes about? J.J. Abrams. Because I remember real good about that. It's an awful show. It's an awful
really
show.
is.
It's clearly made to satisfy contractual obligations.
And with that in mind, you were talking about the lack of connective tissue. I figured out what the problem is with Batman and Joker in this series structure.
Mm-hmm.
So Batman wants to save everyone, but they never tell us that's the mission, because they take it for credit that we know what Batman's mission is. Like, there would be no reason to ever tell us, right?
Also, they removed the foster father-son dynamic with Alfred and Bruce in the show.
But I'm just saying, in BTAS, right, there are episodes where Batman looks into the darkness, he stares into the pit, and he asks himself, why do I keep going on? And has the narrative beat of reaffirming his oath to himself, right? Because we need to see it. In this show, Batman doesn't have that moment. He never declares, to anyone, I'm doing this for this reason. So Alfred, who, as you point out, is not a surrogate father or friend, never points out, but sir, this isn't really your problem. And he never is like, well, everyone's my problem, actually. Right? And they also...
we don't get, the Alfred who remembers the scared, angry, hurt 5-year-old boy who decides, I'm going to stop crying.
Right.
And you don't tell that child that they can't, and then that child becomes a man who's never changed his mind one iota about it.
But they also never talk about Batman's training, right?
Which the
The
animated series did often.
animated series did often. And why this is really important here is because you have this. What is Batman's training like? It's not just that he's got a billion skills from a billion experts,
Mhm.
right? It's he wandered the world speaking to specialists, esoteric specialists, going to symposia. He did all the things of civilization, right?
So, in a
Now,
sense, Batman is more Doc Savage in that respect than he is the Shadow.
right. But with that in mind, let's then look at the Joker. Now, because of Heath Ledger's very successful run at the Joker before his passing, a lot of people have latched onto this idea that the Joker is post-military to explain his level of skillfulness when he's not really a shouldn't be a Batman combatant, right?
I mean, I really think
And
it should be like William Money. The
well,
Joker should be really lucky when it comes to killing and violence.
right, but they riff on this a bit by the implication as they're trying to figure out who the Joker is that he might have been a former combatant for the Great War, for World War One, right? Which I actually think is quite interesting.
Mhm.
If you're setting your film in the or you're setting your series in the post-war, be it World War II or World War One, and 50s or 30s, we're
Yeah.
very fluid about what exact era we're in because it's just kind of pulp. And so now you have this mental image of, yes, Batman learned from the very best in the very best schools, in the very best classrooms, in the very best environments. Where did the Joker learn to kill and be inhuman and the savagery of man and his philosophical underpinnings? It's like from the worst possible environments you can imagine. And so they reflect each other. There's a natural synergy between the two,
Or
right?
if you riff off of what Christopher Nolan did with Batman,
Right,
at some point those two cross paths.
right.
It-
So
that's the connective tissue you should have had for this season of the show.
well, here's the thing, because with that in mind, I'm going to give an example of this actually being done very successfully in a comic most people wouldn't think of in this conversation. So in the Punisher Max run, there's a character called Barracuda, right?
Mhm.
Who was a brand new antagonist they made for Punisher Max. He's not a replacement for Jigsaw because Jigsaw shows up later, but he's not a lore nod, right?
He's
The thing
teaming
is,
Jigsaw.
yeah, he's Timu Jigsaw, but still, the thing is, he actually is worth it on his own. He stands on his own. The thing is that Frank Castle was a Marine.
Mhm.
Okay, Frank Castle was a decorated war hero. Frank Castle is all the things we say are best about the military,
Mhm.
right? Except for the abiding patriotic nobility of Captain America, right?
Which, let's not forget, Frank loves the shit out of Captain America.
Oh, Frank loves the shit out of Captain America, but he could never be Captain America, and he knows it, right? When we're reading through Frank and Barracuda fighting and building up their characters, we learn that Barracuda is from the army. He was a rank and file ground pounder. He was in the same conflicts. He saw the same things. He, in fact, has many of the same skills. But Barracuda is a piece of shit. To the extent that when Barracuda and Frank finally have the one for all the cookies, I'm going to kill you or you're going to kill me fight, right? Frank calls him out on it and calls him an army puke. Because Frank does not respect the rank and file green jeans. Because he's a fucking Marine.
And green jeans don't respect crayon eaters.
Right. Nobody respects the jarheads and the boots. But that's the thing, is that synergy of origin, where the villain and the hero are similar but fractured mirrors of one another, is a powerful rhetorical tool that comics use. There's no reason not to use it in Caped Crusader, and they half-ass it at best.
Mm-hmm. It's a bad show. But another bad show, but not as bad, was X-Men 98. which will be X-Men 99 next season, even though that's not what they're going to call it.
And we've danced around it a bit, but I think we're finally going to actually talk about the episode.
So this whole season, the gist of what my understanding is, they took DeMayo's original outline for season 2 and then mushed in several other comics runs into it. And
after firing DeMayo.
For reasons, for reasonable cause. For reasonable cause. Although there's also politics in that. You could be an asshole and do terrible things in Hollywood and not get fired if the boss likes you. But if the boss thinks you're making him look bad, then all of a sudden he says, doesn't that guy have a spicy sex thing on the internet? Can we make an issue of that so we can fire him for a morals clause in his contract?
Right.
I'm not saying that didn't happen either. I don't know enough, but I'm saying that could very much have happened, which is what DeMayo claims to happen. So it's in play. So the original run was they took Gambit becoming one of the Horsemen of Apocalypse, which was stupid in the comics because previous to that, Wolverine had been one of the Horsemen of Apocalypse, which was stupid because before that, Angel became one of the Horsemen of Apocalypse. And then later, Hulk becomes a Horseman of the Apocalypse. All of those are stupid. Angel's at least acceptable because it's the first time it happened. That's a trick you can only pull once.
Well, no, actually, I want to be fair. Angel was made a Horseman in, I want to see, like 85?
Something like that.
Right?
Very early.
They were floating around the idea of Apocalypse making another X-Man into a Horseman in the 2000s. That's a fair dip to let it ride.
But the point is, the idea is not good a second time.
Yeah,
it's a trick that you have to have something special to do it a second time. Like if they had made the second one the Hulk, that probably could have worked.
Well, what I'm saying is that in this case, right, the first time he did it, he got Warren in a bad way, and Warren was absolutely death for a while, and then Warren got better. But he has never really truly redeemed himself. He has always felt bad about it.
Yes.
Right? Having Apocalypse grab someone and be like, I'm going to make you my Horseman, and he does the procedure, but it just never takes because they're too damn tough, is a different story, and that would be okay. Right?
Well, they kind of did that with Wolverine, but not really.
Right. That's the thing. It's the not really that is the thing, because it's the unwillingness to
go all in.
Go all in, yeah.
So they mushed that together with also there was the brief period where Cyclops was Apocalypse. They mushed that in there. Well,
okay.
They mushed all that together, and then they blow off Apocalypse as a threat.
Yeah.
What DeMayo said is his ending for season 2 is going to be a tease about Onslaught.
Right. And a lot of people are saying that's going to be season 3 because they're desperate for this to be good, and it's like, no, it's just bad, guys. Sorry.
But they're going to do it for season 3 because there's not a good thematic beat to replace what they have with Apocalypse.
Right.
So they're going to do it for season 3. And in season 3 will be, because they introduced time travel in season 2, they'll introduce David, and then David will do the time travel whammy, Onslaught, and then season 4 will be Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to be. It's how it's all going to happen. Remy stole some stuff. There's a big confrontation with X Factor, and what would have been great about that X Factor confrontation in the final episode? Is
if it actually meant any fucking thing?
Well, no. Well, I mean, yes, that. But if, we had some filler, or at least something in that episode where Scott and Alex were like, listen, bro, no. And he's like saying, listen, I know you're emo and shit because like you were homeless and you were adopted, and then this rich weirdo got you. But this is fucked up, and you know it.
Well, look, let's actually address that directly. Okay, where's our inverse Bechdel test?
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
because you're right. As much as I'm like of the argument that it is a crime that X Force or X Factor did not get a episode or two dedicated to them, so we can learn their personality, so we can learn who Strong Guy is, and why that fucking matters, right? And Rain Sinclair could maybe say a line, right?
She technically said a line in this episode, but
We just never saw we just never saw her fucking face move.
Yeah.
But also, it is a massive storytelling misstep when you have Scott Summers and his brother
on two sides of a conflict.
On two sides of a conflict, and they never talk to each other directly.
And also his son.
Wait a minute. Scott and Jean spare more words talking to Cable, a son they have never known, than they ever do between two brothers who grew up together.
Yeah, it's stupid. And also, in the backstory, which they allude to in the show a little bit, they allude to the fact that Polaris and Alex were both at Xavier's school at one point.
Right.
So, there's all four of those characters have a tight relationship. And Polaris dumps Alex to no longer be a government goon and goes back to the X-Men. There's nothing about that in there either.
I mean, let's go even deeper. Let's talk about politics for a minute. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, the Neo Brotherhood under Exodus extrajudiciously kidnaps Graydon Creed to put him on trial.
Yes.
Absolutely a crime, absolutely a problem. X Factor tells the X-Men stay the fuck out of it. Which is weird, because you think they'd be like, we're going to go get him. Are you coming or not? Right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, after defeating the Danger Room and after this, Xavier decides, I'm going to start another mutant nation, and we're all going to run it on a different island in the ocean where the American government has no say, right? Which means this would have to be S.H.I.E.L.D., and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s policies do not actually reflect the American government. S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't have an anti-mutant stance, right? Valerie Cooper is supposed to be not unlike that guy whose name I can't fucking remember with the red hair and glasses.
Henry Gyrich.
She is a person who wants the rule of law followed. The difference between her and Gyrich is that Gyrich is a hard ass. He doesn't care who you are. He wants mutants controlled. She is actually a mutant advocate. She wants mutants to be free, but she believes that mutants gotta play ball. Right? Mm-hmm. Where the fuck is her jurisdiction to tell Xavier he cannot set up an international mutant action on a free island that is not part of a sovereign nation?
I mean, the United States government does shit like that all the time.
Sure, but they do that kind of shit under the radar, and they don't talk about it. X Factor is a publicly known law enforcement agency.
Oh, yeah.
What jurisdiction does she have to go fuck up Xavier's shit? Because the answer is none.
Yeah, no, it's shady and not well developed. It is a shame, because while I didn't like Season 1, X-Men 97 season, it at least was mostly coherent and consistent. It flowed well. This didn't flow well at all. I do not recommend at all.
No. And before it is forgotten, we have to mention also spoilers for things you haven't seen, because fuck this show. The dramatic sacrifice is not only predictable, it's lame.
I mean, It's predictable. It's not so much that it's lame, it's that it's delivered by people who don't believe it.
Well, here's the thing. We know, being actual Marvel readers, that God is a thing. God is its own thing, right? And then the Eternals.
Well, no, the Celestials are the thing.
The Celestials, that's it. Yeah, the Celestials are not gods. They were never gods, but they are simply so sufficiently advanced entities we don't understand them. Right? But I have never understood this notion that they don't understand us. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They created humanity. Humans aren't supposed to be mutants. We're supposed to be humans.
Well, so, actually, in Kirby's original work, mutants came from a design that the Celestials put into humans' baseline.
Right, but it wasn't supposed to be expressed the way it worked out, is my understanding. There was someone interfered.
The Marvel's gone several different ways with that.
Yeah, but the point is, right, is the Celestial creates Apocalypse because it understands the basic thesis of evolution, right? So Apocalypse is engaging in his own survival of the fittest analogy to make stronger mutants and, of course, rule them because he's a god king, even though definitionally he will eventually create a mutant so powerful he can't control it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then Rogue is like, but you know, the power of love compels us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Celestial's like, well, the only way you can defeat death is to give up everything and die for it. No. The obvious logic here would be like, if you wish to destroy Apocalypse, I will give you the power to do so, but then you must replace Apocalypse. Because that's balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the prime mover that Apocalypse represents must exist. The Celestial has ordained it.
But then, if you did that,
right,
then Kurt could have gone in and said, well, wait a minute. What if we do this instead?
Right.
And then his whole ending line at the ending about, like, you really believe all of this will come from your sacrifice. Then he says, I have faith. That's what someone who actually believes in that would talk about.
Right. But so no, what this was in the broader conversation of smushing slop was we're gonna do the killing Kurt arc because we just gave Kurt 3 episodes to pull heartstrings, which is lazy storytelling as well. Not the killing of Kurt, but we ramped up Nightcrawler real hard so you felt something because we couldn't make you feel something any other way.
So we're gonna do something that I never thought I would do.
Okay.
I have in my hand Miles Morales, Spider-Man #1 by Brian Edward Hill. And I spoke to Brian briefly before the show about this comic book, and he said, in quote, they were going to make a lot of money off this Into the Spider-Verse, and I said, listen, man, I just want to make a comic-ass comic book that's a Spider-Man-ass spider book. That is what Brian Hill told me today when I talked to him about this book. And I told him, I'm going to give you some extra runway, but Miles Morales is going to be a hard sell for me. So the comic opens. Miles is in high school. Should probably be college. I think he's in college in the comics. But I don't think, anybody cares. I don't.
Yeah.
He's in the lab with a Ukrainian exchange student who's building a nuclear reactor, and he's a hangry boy. Now, why do you think Miles is a hangry boy?
Because he's been working too hard and not eating enough?
No, because he had to do a Spider-Maning and he skipped his breakfast. The guy fell from a crane. So in your first page, it's half the split is Miles in his school setting being a hungry boy. In the bottom half is 6 hours earlier, dude falls from a crane. Who saves him? It's Miles Morales.
So Can I just clarify something here? You're saying this comic is literally, hey Miles, what if you didn't have breakfast this morning?
Yes, but he does know what it feels like to not have breakfast this morning. Because Miles goes to a good school because he's smart.
I'm glad you picked up that meme though, because
And page 2 is a single page of Miles Morales swinging. He's got the guy by his vest, and he says, "Gotcha, homie." And then Miles has to do some Spider-Manning to keep the giant crane from crashing down on a New York City street and killing a bunch of people.
I mean, as you do.
And then you see a juxtaposition of Miles being in the school, having the school problems, and being the Spider-Man on the street, and everybody going, "Wow, Miles Morales, you so cool, taking pictures of you."
You know, that is an important thing. By the way, everyone's always talking like, why can't you like Miles? Why do you only like Peter? Peter has better jokes. So Miles Morales swings by, saves a guy, got you, homie, and then swings away. Photo opportunity. People.
No. He also webs up the giant crane so it doesn't murder a bunch of people.
Right, but then he webs away. Photo opportunity. Everybody cheers. Right.
Yeah.
The scene from an actual comic book. Spider-Man shows up. There's a bad guy. They're like, the Spider-Man. Spider-Man looks at him and just glares. And he's grabbing the air with his hand. And he's like, "What are you doing?" "I'm summoning." "Summoning what?" "The spiders." It's like, oh God, no! That is so much more endearing.
Yeah.
Than Miles Morales basically taking the victory lap. An undeserved victory lap.
Well, I mean, he did stop a giant crane from killing people.
I appreciate that. I'm just saying.
And then we got a whole page dedicated to him trying to hit on a Ukrainian chick. We got a lot of interracial play going on in the comics.
Yep.
And then he gets a text message on his watch from Gwen that they need to have a meetup. Gwen,
his other interracial love interest.
Exactly. So it's Gwen, it's Miles, and it's Miguel O'Hara.
And of course, and yet again, because I actually was talking about this earlier, I'm assuming it's Miguel O'Hara as the most Aztec man you've ever seen.
Oh, we don't get to see him, and they're talking about a problem with interdimensional spider bit BS. Cops are dealing with stuff, and then a giant Kurgan-ass looking dude comes in the middle of a church, starts attacking things with energy weapons.
For reasons.
Well, Miguel and Gwen were like going, "Hey, there's an interdimensional thing," and Miles is like, "Can I not be involved in that?" It's the hero. He's rejecting the call to adventure. He's hanging with his bros. He's got a relative who's part of his support team. And then giant flying guy with a Kurgan-looking outfit and a giant energy axe starts blowing shit up, trying to attack people in the middle of New York. As you do in Marvel. But, I mean, that's why damage control exists. And while the city and state of New York has a permanent federal disaster thing. And Miles talks about, he's got a kinetic hard energy weapon. He's representing that I'm doing some science here, even though that's not how science works, but whatever. And Miles is like, "Listen, you're blowing up some people in my city, and I don't care for that." And then, interestingly, considering what happened with the recent Spider-Man movie, the bad guy possesses this lady with some explosive kinetic energy. And he's like, "Well, you could fight me, or you can burn off this kinetic energy to this old woman before she explodes." And you know what this Spider-Man does, unlike the one in the movie? Doesn't let the old person get plastered and killed. He in fact saves the old lady. I mean, admittedly, this is a low bar that we're talking about Miles doing basic superhero stuff. But, this is basic stuff. And Miles swings back in to fight the bad guy. And he's like, the bad guy steals his thing and says to Miles, "You chose to stand in my way. So you choose everything that happens next to you." And then the bad guy teleports away. And so the adventure that Miles was trying to avoid is now out there.
I mean, I don't care for some of the particulars, but I understand the setup as it should be, and I'm like, okay,
This
that
is
is,
this is a fairly by the numbers comic book story.
yeah, that's like,
To quote Brian Hill,
well,
this is a comic book story.
as the guy who was loudly proselytizing simple stories well told. It's a simple story, which means it's good, but I'm going to posit that my problem with it is that it feels simplistic. Simplistic and simple are two different things.
And we also get introduced a little bit more to the support character for those of us who may not be aware of him because we're not paying attention to the comics. It's a relative of Miles who got recruited by Mr. Nick Fury.
Huh.
And then we got some making of art, which confirms that, yes, this is Miles in a high school. So I'm going to give this at least 3 issues before I go, no, I'm not interested. Because I'm giving this at least 3 issues. Might give it a couple bonus issues because I was already predisposed not to like Miles Morales, but this is a basic comic book story. It's a basic Spider-Man story. Miles doesn't really have any flavor. He's Hispanic tofu with African coloring.
He's he's Spider Zero. He's
Spider Zero.
Spider Clear.
Absolutely.
But it's an interesting contrast yet again, because you're implying by your story that Miles might be finding his footing. However, I did have an interesting conversation on the Twitter space earlier. Not talking about this one dude. We'll get to that later. Someone named Following Magnica.
Yes.
Made a post in response to Fenrir the Ice Wolf making a post about how the X people are villains because Tony Stark and Mr. Fantastic are increasingly worried about the X-Men being fucking psychos. Because
they are, as they've been written.
Right. And said, when exactly did both people in universe and fans start to turn on the X-Men? Was it around the time that in real life people in real life started to turn on liberalism in general for lying to them about how all cultures are equal? Which is normally a commentary I wouldn't engage, because that's clearly some bait for let's shit talk lefties or let's be outraged lefties.
Well,
right?
Well, first of all, the guy's argument is actually better if he argues, did people stop liking the X-Men when we started drifting back towards violent leftist radicalism?
Right.
Which is more, I think, where we're at.
Well, I responded with an actual comic fan's opinion. Now, mind you, this is my opinion, but I think it's an opinion interesting enough for us to dig into a little bit. I said Joss Whedon's astonishing X-Men. The 90s were a bad time for comics, and after Onslaught, there was a slump because it was unclear what to do with the X-Men. They tied up Weapon X, mostly. They tied up Days of Future Past and Age of Apocalypse. We were well past the Phalanx, etc. Right? Because remember, early 2000s, what was the big X thing going to be? Generation X. How'd that work out? Right?
Well, I mean, they lost the plot on the X-Men.
Right. So I said, Astonishing was supposed to bring the comics into line with the films for that sweet multimedia synergy, but as a line, it's mostly forgotten because it was immediately followed by Morrison, who took that base and smashed it, and then it's been handed and it's been passed hand to hand, getting worse and worse each time. Because I actually think that if we look at it, right, there's Astonishing, which I did read. Okay, I read about Colossus coming back. I read about Break World. That was actually the run where the Danger Room started to become self-aware, right? I read that run.
That's actually not the first time it became self-aware.
Right, but this was the time they did it again. Right? So, we're a lot of the things we're talking about, we're sort of getting laid groundwork there. And then Morrison's immediate run was almost like Rian Johnson getting The Last Jedi, because he not only disregarded all that shit, right, but he also undertook effort to undermine and replace anything he didn't like. Because remember, he did a part of a run where he tried to return Magneto to his supervillainous roots, because in his opinion, Magneto is just an old, nasty terrorist man. He didn't like any of the character development that Magneto had gained over the last 30 years, right? And then people didn't like that so much, and Marvel was so unwilling to commit to it, that they created Zorn to try and cover it up. Remember Zorn? Right?
I don't want to remember Zorn.
But what I'm saying is that this is indicative of the way the X-Men go, right? Okay, well, we destroyed the X-Mansion. Well, what do? We need something to do. San Francisco. We'll go to the West Coast, because comics going to the West Coast has always worked out well for Marvel, except that every West Coast comic, except for the Runaways, has always been trash.
I mean, West Coast Avengers had some good runs.
Right, but Great Lakes Avengers didn't.
No.
Right? It is very much that you get sent to California for exile before you return to New York in glory.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, okay, well, what else is going to happen? It's like, well, Wolverine got his memory back. Okay, what else happened? M-Day. Okay, what else happened? House of M. Okay, what else happened? Cyclops killed the professor. Okay, what else happened? The Phoenix took over everybody. Cyclops, Avian versus X, and just the list goes on of the succession of fucking missteps built on missteps that all descend from Astonishing. Even bringing back Claremont turned out to be a mistake, because he didn't actually fix things. He slobbed around like a half-ass. George Lucas'd his own property.
Well, that's actually because Claremont had some contract issues that Marvel never resolved.
Right.
And that was all to get out from paying him what they owed him on his contract. So they agreed to give him the book back, but if he agreed to take a pay cut. So that's why that happened.
Right.
So we got some breaking news.
Yeah.
Actress Hayden Panettiere has died. Her representative confirms she was 36. What was that line? Save the cheerleader, save the world. So, R.I.P. for her. That's no bueno. It just started blowing through on all the news sources, so details have not fully materialized. We'll probably talk more about this on the show. There was something I tagged you in that said we were going to talk about, and I don't remember what that was.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the page, so let me scroll back through our.
Well, no, I put that actually as a direct tag to you.
You sent me your images of the character you're playing in game.
No, I mean on the Twitter.
Okay, you added me on the Twitter, exactly, and I will go look for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what that was.
I mean, Darren Mooney was talking shit about lanterns. You added me for that. You want to talk about James Gunn's bullshit? I believe we did that.
Okay. I thought there was something I talked up, but I don't remember what the fuck it is.
Well, maybe because we're between things, it's a good time to talk about people who don't understand how fiction works.
Okay.
So I have to start. I tell this story as I told it to my friends because Moody didn't understand this, and once he understood it, he laughed. Okay. So a woman named Brittany Hugo Boom on the Twit space asserted that they've always found it fascinating that in male-centered romance fiction, film, and hero's journey, the love interest is the pinnacle of beauty and perfection, like the love interest in Slumdog Millionaire. Whereas in female-centered romance, like The Notebook, the female love interest is very flawed, but the man loves her in spite of her flaws. Women are much more self-conscientious about their flaws than the men who love them are, right? Now, I don't agree with this position, but it's an interesting argument to make, worthy of digging into, right? But a guy named Joseph Kahn sounded off his fucking opinion, and I want to be clear because it's ridiculous. Joseph Kahn is followed by a lot of people I follow. Okay, he's got 76.1k followers and only follows 600. He's clearly a real human being, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he said there are no romance films guys watch.
Oh,
That's
that
not a
guy.
thing.
That guy.
The romance is always a subplot and often a distraction that must be mitigated to retrieve the arc. If romance is the main preoccupation of the film, then it's not for guys. If The Shawshank Redemption suddenly flipped mid-movie as Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins made out, that's a chick flick. Groundhog Day on the surface seems like it's a romance first guy flick, but men are more fascinated by the mechanics of tweaking rules to solve the problem. They love
No.
algorithms more than Andy
No.
McDowell.
No.
There are rare outliers, but
No.
there are rare outliers. But one 5'5" an NBA player does not prove short kings are the norm in basketball. There's only one before sunrise. And he then goes on to add, because people are raking him over the coals properly, some of these responses are literally calling Shawshank a romance love story. Clearly, film Twitter is not where you go to look for. Is not where you go to look for men. TM. Terminator is not a romance movie. It has romance in it, but it's a sci-fi thriller. Most movies have some form of romance, but romance movies put the culture of dating and relationships as the primary plot, not nuclear annihilation at the hands of a sentient, flesh-covered robot AI. So I weighed in, and I want to be clear that I thought this was a bad idea. I thought I shouldn't. But my friend Johnny Summers came out of the woodwork and he reposted me and he hearted me and he loved what I had to say. So apparently people noticed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I said, do you actively suck cocks? Or are you so socially incapable that you can actually only imagine what the meaningful warmth of a human phallus entering your throat to shut you the fuck up feels like? Not only do men watch romances, we invented the fucking genre to gain women. To say that men's movies without romance exist, ex post facto, men do not watch romance, would be like claiming that you have a penis and therefore have known what sex is. Just because you have an incredibly pathetic, malfunctioning tumor of equipment does not mean you understand it. Because quite frankly, no, we can think of many examples of romance in men's films that is straight up romance, or where romance is the primary point. I think the best example that somebody else pointed out is fucking Rocky.
Absolutely. Rocky's romance.
Like I want to say more than 70% of that film is about the romance between Adrian and Rocky more than the boxing. The boxing almost takes a back seat.
Let me do something that we've almost never done in the gospel. I'm going to reference a Bible verse.
Okay.
It is not good for man to be alone. You know where that comes from in the Bible?
I do not.
That's in Genesis, just before God makes Eve. So you look at, in Groundhog Day, Bill Murray's character. That's him. The romance of Andy McDowell is not about him getting a woman, marry him, and produces children and offspring. It's about how he's an incomplete person, and how once he becomes a more complete person, she enables him to get that fuller state of completion. So the point of that movie isn't the algorithm, isn't the rules. It's about how this imperfect but competent person realizes that he has to actually self-improve, not just become a rich dick, to be the person he needs to be in his life. So these are people who don't fucking understand how movies work. But I'm going to share something with you and whoever's watching, whenever they're watching. Something I also saw in my social media feed in our little Twitter roundup section. In a second, let me get this pulled up here. Boo, boo, boo. All right. So I'm not going to get into the commentary here first. This is an official piece of D&D artwork.
Yep.
So there are a lot of problems. Number one problem is people say she's fat. And this is not an untrue problem. Her physical dimensions would make the basics of D&D adventuring uncomfortable for her.
I don't know about that, but I'm not gonna say that it's objectively a wrong opinion.
Well, no, like big thighs, hiking through the hills. That shit chafes. That shit becomes unpleasant.
Oh, I'm not saying that there wouldn't be things and it might not be uncomfortable. I'm just saying that I'm not gonna say outright that big booty adventurer woman couldn't exist.
Well, I mean, she's not big booty adventure woman. She's big everything.
I'm just saying this character was not drawn in a way that suggests obese, like a gross person, like on a mobility scooter. Okay, they were drawn to suggest big, and I can go with big.
But let's talk about that jacket. That jacket is very badly designed.
That very trying to be faux 17th century jacket, yeah.
The leggings, the vest, the shirt, and the bows. That's all fine on an adventuring costume.
Yeah.
But that jacket is like no. And also, a scroll case you got slung over your arm, like that is tactically not advisable.
It's presented like a purse, which is probably a bad idea.
Yeah. So what else do you see as design flaws from this image that if Wizards of the Coast employ art editors, someone might say, well, this is wrong?
Well, a lot of people have commented on that book appears to look like a Quran.
Well, no. But before we get into that, I'm talking about what pops out to you as a professional who's worked on art in these sorts of settings.
What pops out to me is that this art is a nothing piece. Nothing's happening, nothing's going on, there's no energy. I'm not particularly stunned by flamboyance. It's just a character standing there making a gesture.
It is not a dynamic character piece.
Right. And now it's not just commercial art. We're not just talking about in comics they say you've got to be dynamic. I'm saying overall, I would like more dynamism in my comics or in my media, in my fantasy media, right?
Also, her face doesn't really have good emotional context.
It does not.
And the person whose Twitter feed I'm taking this off of, it's not that fat people can't try to become adventurers. It's that fat people quit their first day of hiking 20 miles into the wilderness, including a battle slightly before or after noon. Thighs chafe, packs are heavy, you have to carry all your own food on your back, and all your water, and all your gear. There's not D&D, it's more twee-and-D art that nobody asks for and nobody needs.
See, that's the part I both agree with and disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
All right? If you are a big woman, right, and you have to go adventuring for some reason, Okay, and there is nobody to go adventuring on your behalf. You got to do it,
Also, this
right?
character is a combination sorcerer bard, and I don't know why you would do that.
Because mechanically, that's what people play. They literally mix and match those two classes for maximum spam because the bard doesn't get fireball.
You see, I would not agree to that if I were a dungeon master. If you're multi-classing your character like that, I would say you're just pulling bullshit to min-max.
I mean,
Wow.
how dare you interfere with player agency, Lerald? We've been told that player agency is the most important thing. Players have a right to make their bullshit characters however they want to, and you just have to accept it because you're the GM.
I mean, that's not what the manual says, though, is it, Joe?
No, that is what the manual says now, and that's the fucking problem.
But I mean, the manual also says that the GM makes the rules interpretations.
Not anymore.
Really?
Yeah, you are a civil servant with no authority anymore. Fuck you.
That is lame.
That is the direction that the industry wants to go. They have misconstrued player agency for absolute player freedom, because any restrictions is a offense. And then while they're at it, they do actually say things like, well, yeah, you have the right to say no, you have the ability to restrict, right? But then they follow it up by presenting that basically, but if you ever use that authority, you're wrong.
Now we're gonna look at some art that I had made. This was something I paid a human being to make.
Yep.
Now this is kind of glossy, not necessarily the best, but I mean, I don't have the money to pay for the best. This is good art. This is fine art. And this is a character at the age of 26. And I decided to do something I've not tried to do with the AI art bots. And I said, let's make this character at 17 with her first superhero costume. Here is what the AI bot made. So what does this costume tell you, the person evaluating the art, about the character?
I've seen better variations on this character, but it's basically
no.
a
This is my
hybrid
character.
of.
Well, hold up.
No.
I'm
saying
You haven't seen any variations of this character.
No. I have seen other characters with other names with a incredibly similar look. I have seen variations on this character.
Well, I mean, I base this off of several comic book characters. So
but it's a hybrid of Supergirl and Captain America.
No.
That is what it looks like.
It's a hybrid of Golden Age characters. And I made a tweak on the way those color costumes work to make it be more distinctive. Lady Liberty and Liberty Bell.
Right.
But their costumes had more red and blue focus. I made
Right.
the white a stronger focus here. But that wasn't my point. What does this artistic design tell you that the sassy black sorceress lady doesn't tell us?
I mean, as a base image, not much, but I will grant that they've got that upturned fist, and they look and they've got the bent knees. They look like they are at least trying to be ready for action, which is something.
Well, hold up. We're gonna zoom in on this image. Now that you see it closer, what does it tell you?
Are you trying to point out that they're clearly a school child? Because I got that.
Well, no, they're 17. Look at the gloves.
Okay.
What do the gloves tell you?
If you're looking for me to point out a specific thing, I don't get it, Larry.
They're work gloves.
Okay.
That's a modified sweater.
Ah, I see. So you're saying this is a character from the ground up. They don't have a lot of advanced superheroing stuff. They're just kind of working it out as they go. The boots are just cowboy boots and so on.
Well, the boots are work boots. And blue domino mask. But she also put a bow in the hair.
Well, because you still want to be cute.
Absolutely. Now we're gonna, because I did a few other iterations, and here was the version right above this.
Right. This is where the character starts to look more like a character in its own right, and not an amalgamation of pieces.
but I mean, it's still the same costume. But now,
Yeah,
got a pouch because, as women often complain about, they
you
don't
need
have pockets.
pockets,
You need pockets, and also you notice the cape has little buckle things on
little fastens. Yeah,
it. All good little bits of character design. Also, the original image was blonde, but the chat knows my opinions about hair color and went with red, which is actually kind of good because that's an I Love Lucy sort of thing. And now you have an image. This one is something Grok made of her at a USO entertaining
right,
soldiers.
right. And the skirt has acquired
Yeah,
stars on it.
yeah. And this one is actually interesting. Why does she have a more uniformy looking costume?
It's a good question. Also, why does it have sort of English or European epaulette style on the shoulder?
That was probably something more the bot came up as a thing. So technically, what they would do for USO performers, they would give them an American officer uniform in the event that they were captured behind enemy lines, so that they would be treated under the convention, under the Geneva Convention.
Hmm.
And yeah, here again, the more performery looking costume for the soldiers.
Yeah.
So I will say, like this one, this is a dynamic image.
Yeah.
This one actually was made with Grok, and that came out good. This one was made with Gemini.
It's a little more
Stiff.
generic, but it does have the sort of the classic superhero. I am standing, ready to go.
Yes, yes, and even this one, there's a little bit of action in it.
Yeah.
A little action. This one is more like a piece that's done to explain to somebody else. Here's what this character needs to look like.
Right.
To an artist. And by the way, the shield emblem on the back cape, that was something
Yeah.
the bot invented that was new, that is actually a good quality piece.
Yeah. The D&D one is more like somebody stopping on the road and going, "Oh, hello, darling," and it's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is that you don't cut corners when you're doing these things. You put pieces into place, and it's like when we're talking about our boy Jack Reacher. He's on the train. He sees a thing that he can't look away from. He's with the cops. The snap, crackle, and pop show up. Then he gets outside. He gets accosted by some guys. And once he gets accosted by some guys, they're like saying, somebody paid people to come violate, try to get something from me.
Right.
I need to see who did that.
Right.
All of these pieces are set up to unfold our mystery. Everything's designed to unfold the mystery. He bought a flash drive, which they called a jump drive for some reason, which was weird.
Weird.
And like when he gets questioned about by the CIA, he says, "Well, why is there just art, sketches in here?" I said, "Well, it's because the guy I got it from, he wasn't applying himself."
Yeah.
All of that is good stuff. All these little pieces make up a bigger composite. So, in the old times, there used to be art editors who would look at things and say, "No, this isn't what we're doing." Well, and they believe you can replace art with art without an editor. You could just have a bot do it.
Well, here's the thing. That piece, the D&D piece that you presented, is very clearly a piece of art for a column. Okay, that means it's going to show up in book.
Yeah.
Right? And it's going to take up half a page, and it's just going to be an appearance of a character. Right?
And it's either going to be in a module. This is who you're going to meet. This is their stat block. This is what their motivations are.
Right. The thing is that when we're talking about that not being very impressive, we can come off as unreasonably demanding. Okay?
Hmm?
But give me a second here. Let me dig through my tomes.
Yeah, tomes? Tomes of lore and knowledge.
Right. I'm gonna open a book. Okay, I gotta shrink this down so I can make it visible to all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pull out some ancient lore, the old lore. How old? Probably younger than you and I, but older than some of our viewers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I also want to show you another piece of art for this character while you're tome searching here. Let me pull that one up. Because this character, her character arc, she goes to be a hero fighting in a war. And this is the hero fighting in the war costume.
Oh, nice. It's got a little shoulder plates to protect her shoulders, and still has the cape.
Yeah, even though she's bulletproof, so that's kind of silly.
I mean, you do what you do.
Exactly. And again, all those design pieces, they tell a story, and that's what art's supposed to do. In
So
these.
I'm sharing a window if you want to pull this up.
All right. Boop.
This is the Wilderness Survival Guide from First Edition AD&D. Now, to be fair, it's cover. It's a lot more space to do a lot more things.
Can you zoom in on that a little?
I can, but I like I said, I had to shrink it down to make it more visible for the people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in the foreground we have this warrior and this dwarf, and they're on a cliffside, and there's all this rubble and shit, and they're pulling themselves up by the grappling hook, right? And you could cut the image in half, just down the center here, and just have these guys on your column, right? And to my mind, you look at them and it's like, what are they looking at? What are they climbing up? Where's all this rubble and shit? Right? Or you could take the other half of the image, the exact same image, right? Here is this gross giant thing, which I think is an ogre, right? And here is this dude hanging from its arm. And you're like, oh shit, he's in a bad fucking way. How is he going to get out of this?
And this
right?
is a good piece of art for a game book.
And you have this distance in the background. You have, there's a valley and there's a river and whatnot, right? And it's like, oh man, is he going to get flung? Is he going to get et? Is he just going to get his arm ripped off? What the fuck's going to happen? There's all kinds of action and potential here, and that's what's not in the other image. The other image is essentially static. It tells you nothing about the character. It tells you nothing about the character's adventures or struggles other than a single personality note. And that personality note is that they're fabulous.
Well, I would have said sassy fat black woman. That's like 3 notes.
Right, but put it all together, it's also a pretty serious stereotype.
Well, look, it's not stereotypes when they do it.
Right.
But yeah, we ended talking about art and comics and
we do that sometimes. Sometimes we actually talk about visuals here.
Yeah, and I did not expect us to talk as much as we did about the Lantern show, but goddamn, that show was awful.
It's like an onion; it has layers, man.
I mean, your black main character's an abused kid, and then he gets a woman to cheat on her husband as part of a little bit of a honeypot trap. I'm like going, oh, it's all gross. Let's not do that. So,
well, if you want to spare a couple of seconds, we can talk about something really weird that happened the other day.
Oh, what weird thing you want to talk about for a little bit?
Well, as you see, I'm still using the Who is Quentin Fame face.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. So some time ago, just before I lost my job, I had signed up to present in a Substack-based writers book club. Basically, a group of writers all coming together to pass their work around to one another and go, look at this and tell me what sucks about it, right? And I had been participating, but kind of half-heartedly because it goes against our games and some other things. And I was like, I don't want to not be a contributing person. So here, I'll take a piece that's done, but is possibly, less good than it could be, and I'll let people dig into it, right? So I tossed them the Quentin Fame story, right? The Wolf and Mr. Fox, and yesterday people responded to it, right? It was read and it was responded to, and the weird part is that people are mad at me now.
Because you haven't sold it to them.
Right, because it's not monetized. Quote from Carol Viana. This is the best story I've read since I joined Substack in June. Blew my mind, read the whole thing. Multiple people have signed up for my sub, not that I expected it, right? Some other comments here. Just give me a second to pull it up. I just have one question to Rune, because there's a Q&A after the review. Dude, who are you? Do you dance? Because I dance with you. Do you fence? Because my stepdad's a fencer and his house is full of swords. Oh my god. When the female lead died, I had to mourn her. I'll follow your writing now to the death. I just finished reading your story. I'm shook.
Well, hold up. Is this the
Right.
Carol Viana who's the Brazilian?
Give me a second. Carol Viana is the creator of Inner Meditation, author of Inner Mediator, and founder of a Reiki school.
Yeah.
Every week she shows whimsical stories from Pretend Land to help readers heal with imagination, Reiki, and compassion. She's a TBI survivor, whatever the fuck that means. Are you saying someone actually low-key famous has read my work?
Well, no, I Googled it and
Okay.
Interesting. It's traumatic brain injury is TBI, by the way.
Okay. But someone else said, just finished reading. I'm stunned. That was epic in so many ways. It started out great and then somehow got better. Twists and turns, romance, mystery, angst, revenge, a folklore tie-in. Bro, are you trying for a Pulitzer? What's happening? This is the most banging short story I've read all week, and I've read a lot of short stories this week. My favorite part was when they started fighting over archetypes. They're both predators, but people always love the wolf. Absolute genius. Sitting over here, shook. Again, I'm shaking people. I don't know how. And yeah, one guy was literally saying, "Shut up and take my money. Why are you not monetized? The fact that you have been on Substack for a year and this was there and nobody knew about it should be a crime."
I mean, I read it. I believe I read this short story. I believe you sent it to me.
You did. I did send it to you, and I'm like, I am really weirded out that people are this fucking popular or excited about my shit. When I can't seem to get into the industry that pretends I don't exist.
Well, I mean, the publishing industry is garbage.
Absolutely.
What you need to do is you need to package your stuff, get your stack monetized, and then funnel into Amazon.
I'm looking into that. I'm actually trying to get people to talk to me about how do I do that? How does that correctly?
I don't know the Substack portion, but the Amazon portion. There's all sorts of stuff online for how you format your books, and then you put them into Amazon. You have it formatted, and you can use the AI to build something to the Amazon algorithm. Although that's how effective that is now varies because Amazon's counter algorithm yet.
Now, this is not actually just buttering myself up and talking about my sub. There is another thing, and I wish Church and Ayrton were here for this because they are the experts. When I started being more active in the book club, I made a joking proposal that they took to heart. So after a review, there's a after party where basically people chill out and talk more about stuff they were just talking about. And I proposed that since this is supposed to be a speakeasy, that's the implication, that this is basically authors getting together and drinking, that every story that gets reviewed should have a story, or not a story, a drink.
Cocktail.
Right? Yeah, like what's the cocktail? So I didn't make this, but the people took it to heart and they've started making the weekly cocktail. So I am the creator, the innovator, the presenter. I just threw this up on screen if you want to see it.
Wait a second.
And I can make this bigger.
Come on. Hit the button. There we go.
Of the Strawberry Alibi, a Jazz Club bourbon sparkler. Quote, warm bourbon and a flash of and cognac meets strawberry citrus and a flash of sparkling rose. A drink that arrives in
Rosé.
Rosé, thank you. That arrives in gold light, kisses quickly, and disappears into the crowd. 1 ounce of bourbon, 3/4 ounce of cognac, 1/2 ounce of strawberry syrup, 1/2 ounce fresh lemon juice, 2 dashes of Peychaud's bitters, 2 ounce chilled sparkling rosé, garnished with a strawberry fan and an orange twist. And you serve it in a coupe. The exact instructions I'm not going to get into how you make it, but it's like I am interested if anyone's actually going to make this. I want to see if somebody tries it and tells me whether or not it sucks.
Well, that's our show. So good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Doot. Doot.
Doot.